If you think narcissists are easy to spot, you might want to think again. A lot of narcissists can hide their toxic traits so well that most people, even their close friends, their close family, have no idea what kind of harm they're causing to other people. In today's video, we're going to be talking about covert narcissists. These are the ones that fly under the radar and they leave just as much, if not more, damage than an overt narcissist. These are really the ones you need to watch out for because, as the name suggests, covert, not so obvious, versus overt, obvious. And a lot of the times, covert narcissists are able to make the abuse go on for so much longer than an overt narcissist, for example, because you just don't know that it's abuse. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Coach Adriana, and I empower survivors of narcissistic abuse to heal, set boundaries, and live life on their own terms. I'm a fellow survivor myself, and my own healing journey is what inspired me to become a coach and help other people heal as well. If you're interested in learning more about how you can work with me, check out the link in the description underneath this video for your options. Without further ado, let's get your shift together and let's talk about these sneaky covert narcissists. So depending where you do your research, you might see stuff online that says there's like 100 different types of narcissists, or 10, or 6, or 2, or whatever. I like to keep things simple for people, and I just go based off of the research that I've done. And I've done a lot of Dr. Ramani's workshops in the past, and according to her, there's 6, but there's really, in my opinion, 2. So I'm not going to get into all 6, but we're going to talk about like the 2 of covert and overt. And the 6, in my opinion, they do fall under the umbrella of overt and covert, which this is something I dive so much deeper into in my coaching program. So I'm not going to make this like a 5-hour long video or anything like that, but let's just cover the basics of covert and overt. So a covert narcissist is not as obvious, whereas an overt narcissist, it's like, you know, this person's an asshole, you know, this person has an agenda. They are not shy about it. They like are loud. They seek that admiration openly. They seek to destroy people openly. They are not going to, beat around the bush about what their intentions are. And obviously those people suck, but at least you know what they're all about. Whereas a covert narcissist, they hide behind a much more subtle, like victim-y or shy or like needing to be rescued sort of persona. And they're very hidden in their approach to manipulating. And unfortunately, just because the approach is hidden, it does not mean that the manipulation tactics don't do the damage that would be done with any sort of manipulation. So it's really important to recognize and understand this. And something that I learned in one of Dr. Ramani's workshops that I took in 2021, the different narcissists do love bomb, devalue, discard slightly differently. At the end of the day, that is the pattern, is the pattern, is the pattern. But a covert narcissist, it's slightly, there's a few things to look out for. So a covert narcissist, the way they will love bomb you is you'll have like these positive feelings around like rescuing them because they're going through so much. They're such a victim of their circumstances. They might be really shy. They might seem like they have low self-esteem. They might seem very humble, but at the end of the day, what they're doing is gaining sympathy from you at the beginning without raising any suspicion from you. Right? Because someone who's going through a time, like maybe they're trauma dumping, but all these terrible things happened and whatever the situation is, it's easy to give them the benefit of the doubt. And they'll create these scenarios where if you don't give them the benefit of the doubt, you're going to look like an asshole. Covert narcissists will present themselves as charming, empathetic, selfless, and it's literally the exact opposite of what you would typically associate with a narcissist. But the thing with covert narcissists is they know how to perform empathy. They have what they call cognitive empathy, which is the ability to know what empathy is and perform it, but they don't have actual empathy, which means they don't actually feel it. They can perform it, but they do not feel it. And so just because somebody seems to have empathy, don't take that really as the truth on like who they are. A lot of the times they can be performing empathy. And you'll only know if that's the case once you kind of get to know the person a little bit more. And just the one thing I'm going to really throw out there for you to make it really easy for you to recognize if you're dealing with a covert narcissist, like we're just going to get to the point right at the beginning. Confusion. If you are confused, you are being abused. So if you are dealing with any type of narcissist, you're probably going to be confused to begin with. That confusion is probably going to happen very soon, but you're probably going to brush it off. So do not brush it off if you do feel confusion at the beginning of any sort of relationship with somebody that you suspect could be a narcissist, because that confusion is probably a red flag that there's some manipulation going on behind the scenes. And so underneath this act, this performance, this persona of like this person who's just been through all of these things and they have all this empathy and woe is me and the circumstances, underneath that facade is a big web of manipulation and lies and exploiting your emotions at the end of the day. Narcissists are masters at playing the victim, in particular covert narcissists. They love playing the victim. If they can figure out a way to do mental gymnastics in any scenario to make themselves the victim, they will do it, and it will be believable. And most people are gonna just buy into it because, hey, like if this person went through this thing, like you can't just accuse them of what they're obviously doing when it's not so obvious, right? Like they literally create these situations where they just master playing the victim. Everybody is sympathizing with them. They're getting supply off of those people that way. And they'll use guilt, self-pity, this fake like humbleness to kind of control other people around them. They are experts at hiding their true intentions. They are never going to tell you, hey, this is why I'm doing this, so I can exploit this emotion within you later. That would literally defeat the purpose. And, you know, I always make the comparison of imagine your purse is open, your wallet is sticking out, and a thief sees your wallet sticking out of your purse. Is that thief going to come up to you and say, hey, just heads up, your purse is open, I can see your wallet, I am going to steal it within the next 5 minutes if you don't close your purse. I just wanted to give you a heads up. No, that's not going to happen. That would defeat the entire purpose of somebody being a thief, right? So a narcissist is not going to explain their manipulation tactics. They're not going to admit what their intentions are. They're just gonna do it. Just like the thief is just gonna steal your wallet at the end of the day. Another thing to recognize about covert narcissists and narcissists in general is that they will target the most vulnerable people. I recently did a video about what type of people attract narcissists. Check it out wherever it is up here where it shows up, and you can check that out before continuing this video so it will make more sense to you. But regardless, narcissists will target people who are vulnerable. So if you've been through something, you might literally meet a narcissist at like a grief support group or something like that. Like they're literally lurking in places where there are vulnerable people, and they will play the part. They're going to make you feel seen and heard and validated and all that great stuff. But behind the scenes, they're slowly draining the life out of you, and you might not even realize it because their manipulation is so subtle. So it's really, really easy to overlook those warning signs. And then we can even blame ourselves for allowing them to treat us the way they treated us. And at the end of the day, like you never allow somebody to treat you in any way. They choose to treat you in that way. They are adults who are capable of rational thought, and they are choosing to abuse you. That's not something you allowed them to do. Nobody goes into an interaction with somebody and says, oh, I can't wait to let this person abuse me. No, that would be insane. And you're not insane. You're normal. You're a normal person who's just been through abuse, and there was nothing that you did. There's nothing you said. There's nothing about you that justifies this person abusing you. They will make all the justifications in the world, but at the end of the day, just because they make these justifications doesn't mean they are valid. And so one of the most insidious aspects of covert narcissism is that they can really make you feel like you're going crazy. So, they might deny stuff that they said in the love bombing phase. And if you haven't seen my video on the cycle of abuse, somewhere up here, check it out. The cycle of abuse is love bomb, devalue, discard. So if you the love bombing, right? Like a lot of people think it's like these grand gestures, but with a covert narcissist, a lot of the times it's like they just make you feel so validated and heard and seen about some sort of trauma that you went through. And they'll have these nice little heart-to-heart conversations with you where you're spilling your guts, you're telling them all of your deepest, darkest secrets. They're validating you, all that kind of stuff. They're not having this conversation with you because they want to connect with you over like something traumatic that you've both been through. They're having this conversation with you so they can use it against you in the future. And the other ironic thing you might notice is that you might tell, let's say it's a romantic relationship with a narcissist, the beginning stages with the covert narcissist, right? And you're having those heart-to-hearts and you're telling them about your narcissistic ex because you don't realize this is just another soon-to-be narcissistic ex, unless you've watched this video in time. So yay, just crossed. But regardless, let's say you're telling a new potential partner about an ex that did all these terrible things, whatever. Isn't it ironic how they're probably going to do all those things that you said that you went through, that they said at that love bombing stage they would never do that to you? And then sure enough, they do it. And the way that they do it, it ends up just being so confusing that you think you're going crazy or you think you didn't word it properly. And that's why I always tell my clients, like, there's no combination of words. There's no way to say something to a narcissist that's going to make them understand something, because they're going to twist it all anyways, just to support their narrative and make you question your own sanity. And, they're super convincing. So they're going to make you doubt your own perceptions and your own memories and all that kind of stuff. To make it worse, when they are, being awful towards you after the love bombing, they can make themselves into the victim. That's like the biggest key to know that you're dealing with a covert narcissist, is just this whole victimized vulnerability that they kind of exude, where it's like, oh, like, you're mad at me for, trying to ruin your life, but you did this thing, like you put the plate in the wrong spot, and you know how that affects my random condition I just made up, and therefore I'm the victim. Like, they use a tactic called DARVO, which stands for deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender. And covert narcissists do this so much and in such a subtle way that, like, you literally think you're going crazy. And the thing with covert narcissists is they're so dangerous because they literally seem like they're victims themselves, but really they're predators underneath that false persona. They seem so vulnerable at first, they need help, they're going through all these things, they weasel their way in, you let them in, and like what happens with that cycle of abuse, right? That's the love bombing. And like I say in that video about the cycle of abuse, the love bombing does not have to be this crazy grand gesture. It could be literally they are appealing to your empathy like a covert narcissist would when they're sharing their woe is me victim story. And then they let them in. And then as soon as they're satisfied, they have gained your trust with their like victimhood, boom, you're getting devalued. Another thing covert narcissists will do is like they'll talk with such a like sweet voice, like their voice is kind of quiet, like they're not loud. They'll be very kind of like, oh, well, like I can't believe you would do this to me sort of thing. Like it just has completely broken my heart that you breathed in the wrong direction, and I can't believe you would do this to me. I need to go think about things. You know what I mean? And like they will say it in such a way where it's like you're just feeling like the worst person ever. And the reality is they have projected that onto you because they should be feeling like that. But they're not going to take accountability. They're just going to project it onto you so they can evade accountability, make themselves into the victim, and make you the asshole. And they'll be so convincing and you start thinking you're going crazy. And the thing is, like these covert narcissists, they're really like chameleons. They really adapt to their environments. They can blend in really well and they can avoid detection really well because they are such experts at playing on your emotions and kind of like playing the system, so to speak, because they're using that emotional manipulation to get what they want. They appeal to your empathy, they gain your trust. Once that has happened, then they start to devalue, but they do it very subtly. It could be like a tiny little insult. It could be like, a tiny little talking to you of like, oh, well, this one little thing you did like kind of made me feel like this. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. And then it just gets worse and worse and worse, the stuff that they have to complain about you. And since they're not as like aggressive as a traditional overt narcissist, their tactics and their abuse really flies under the radar, and there's this trail of destruction that they've left behind, but nobody really knows that that's even what happened. And once you're kind of in that devaluation stage with the covert narcissist, like they will be very critical of you. Like they'll say all these terrible things, but they'll say it in a way where it's almost like they're trying to help you, and they, you know, you just don't appreciate what they're saying. This is just how my voice is. This is just how I am. You need to accept me for who I am. Then they'll become a victim and be like, oh, but if you can't accept me for who I am, then I guess you don't really love me, kind of thing, right? So that sounds familiar. You're probably dealing with the covert narcissist. So really, just to kind of summarize the main traits of a covert narcissist, like victimhood, number one, really, right? They'll present themselves as a victim in order to gain sympathy and manipulate others that way. Self-pity is another one, where they'll play that like poor me card to avoid accountability. And then there's passive aggressiveness, which they'll use like that subtle criticism to kind of destabilize you, but if you were to bring it up, you would look kind of crazy by bringing it up. Like they would be able to point the finger right back at you and say, oh, you're too sensitive. I can't believe you're making this into such a big deal. The other thing with covert narcissists is they're also called vulnerable narcissists. And I think that term fits very perfectly with them, because they have all these vulnerabilities because they're such victims all the time, and all these horrible things have happened to them and blah, blah, blah. And their manipulation can actually be seen as vulnerability because they're actually opening up about all these horrible things. And, you know, it's really, really hard to detect them because of how subtle these signs are. Also in the devaluation stage, like they'll kind of have this sense of entitlement, but it's like a victim-y entitlement, where it's like, oh, well, you know, because I'm such a victim, you should be doing all this for me, and you should be apologizing to me because of how you treated me, and they won't take that accountability. And then, of course, the discard, right? It might not happen in every situation, but they will kind of, you know, be in that mode. It's still like a victim thing, where it's like you just are so demanding. There's so many things you need from them, and they just can't satisfy your needs, and nothing's ever enough for you. And so they need to take a step back. Like that's kind of how they'll discard you. And, you know, just all these demands and things like that. And then the hoovering, of course, right? Love bomb, devalue, discard. The hoovering is usually a love bomb. So they will, you know, give you that false hope and kind of remind you of just all the great things from the love bombing. They'll guilt you, right? They'll come back with like that familiarity, the nostalgia, the good old days, all that kind of stuff. And that cycle, love bomb, devalue, discard, repeats itself over and over and over again. And this is something that I found so mind-blowing from Dr. Ramani's workshop that I attended in 2021, that, you know, they all do the love bomb, devalue, discard cycle, but there's a few little differences, and it's so important to be aware of the differences with covert narcissists because it's so easy to overlook it. So now that we understand kind of like what a covert narcissist is, what they do, the traits, and why they're so dangerous, right? Just quick recap. Covert narcissists are the subtle narcissists. They're the difficult to detect narcissists. They are so dangerous because they are so difficult to detect, and the abuse goes on longer and longer without people knowing about it. And then, of course, right, they have that self-pity, that passive aggression, the victimized, whatever the word is, victimhood, whatever it is. And then they love bomb, devalue, discard, just like any other narcissist, but in a more like I'm a victim sort of way. And so now that that's all covered, how do we protect ourselves from covert narcissists? So the thing to realize is that narcissists are everywhere. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. They are all over this planet, littering the planet. Step one is really just education and being aware of what narcissists are. And obviously, if you have come across this content right here on YouTube, you are educating yourself. So way to go. That is step one. Step two is just really being self-aware of yourself and recognizing that you do not have the power to change another person. The only thing you can change is how you react to the other person. And this is where the inner work comes into play, where the emotional work comes into play. I cannot stress enough how so crucial the inner work is. And I feel like I'm a broken record in every video. I talk about the emotional work, but there's no other solution that's going to work for you. So if you want to be efficient and not waste too much more time, start doing the emotional work. And if you don't know how to start doing the emotional work, take my free quiz at the link in the description right under this video. The results are going to give you a bunch of resources, of course, plus you're also going to get journaling instructions and journal prompts. And those journaling instructions are literally the instructions I give to my clients. And you don't have to worry about the narcissist reading your journal because you're destroying it right after you write it. So do not worry about any of that kind of stuff. Try it out, take the quiz to get the instructions, try it out, see how it goes. Let me know in the comments if you've started journaling yet and how that's been going for you. And, that is really just that first baby step to starting to do the emotional work. Because once you start journaling, you're going to start being able to access your emotions in your body. Emotions are a physical process. I'll probably make a video about emotions in the near future. But for now, just understand that you need to process those emotions, and journaling is one of the best ways. And make sure you're protecting your sanity, like protect your energy. Narcissists are after your energy. All they want from you is supply. They're literally energy vampires, and they're going to do and say whatever they can to get those reactions from you. So you have to become self-aware to the point where you're recognizing, I am not going to give this person an emotional reaction. Easier said than done, but this is something that can come with time, practice, and being patient with yourself and having compassion for yourself because you've been through so much. Then really deciding what kind of boundaries you can have with this person. There's only 3: no contact, low contact, or gray rock. Those are the only 3 realistic boundaries you can have with a narcissist. I'm probably going to make a video about this as well. All of these steps bring me to my community where I have courses on literally everything I have described. There's a course on how a narcissist's mind works. There's an audio course on boundaries. There's an audio course on emotions. There's literally 6 audio courses that you will get if you join tier 1. It's less than $1 per day to get started. There's also the audio course access only membership as well. It's only $7 a month. You can always upgrade, downgrade, cancel anytime. And I would strongly invite you to join my community if you are interested, because it's not only do you get all the education, you also get to put it into practice, because I do monthly Q&As, more live events each month as well. Plus you get my guidance and you get support from the rest of the community. So if that is something that interests you, check out the link in the description. I would love to have you on board, and you'll be among fellow survivors and all this great stuff. Like, I just cannot express how awesome my community is. It's affordable, it's great. You can stay for a little or as long as you'd like to stay for. And you're probably going to meet some amazing fellow survivors who are not only there to support you, but are also going through their own narcissistic abuse recovery journey as well. And just, it's such a great supportive environment. That is it for today's video. I hope this has been helpful. I hope this helps you understand a little bit more about covert narcissists and how to really be able to detect one. If there's anything that I didn't cover in this video about covert narcissists, I invite you to drop your question in the comments underneath this video, and I'll probably make another video in the very near future addressing that. So we'll wrap it up here, and I'll see you next time. Bye.